Hello everyone, Simon Bart here, and welcome to another movie review. Well, it's time to look at another film by Don Bluth, but this one is interesting based on how it's played out. And it is a film that made Don Bluth retire from animation until this Kickstarter came up. Titan A.E. It's the year 3044 AD, 15 years after the Earth was destroyed by an alien race called the Dredge, and one of the human survivors named Kale wears a ring that imprints a map on his hand, which shows the location of the spaceship called the Titan, which is not only built by Kale's father, but is also used to create a new planet for humanity. So Kale, along with a space crew of humans and creatures, set out to find the Titan before the Dredge does. Now this film is said to be Bluth's quote-unquote last film before retiring to do video tutorials on how to draw. But ever since the Kickstarter for the Dragons Lair movie came out and completed, we'll just have to wait and say that this movie is his second to last film. And it did get a bum rap for a while. It has some stuff that is a first for Bluth. It has the first African Americans and Asian American characters. It shows more blood than in Secret of Nim. It shows a bit of nudity for the first time, and it's not a full-fledged musical. However, those things can't compare to how the animation is. While the 2D animation is okay for Bluth, the 3D animation is all over the place. It's like there's 80 or 90% of 3D animation, and it really overshadows the 2D animation. And the mix of the two becomes jittery when the camera moves with them, and it works fine when the camera doesn't move. Now don't get me wrong, I do like this kind of blend of 2D and 3D, and sometimes the CGI looks amazing on its own, in particular when the two spaceships are going through the ice rings. But it needed to be one or the other when there's more CG than hand-drawn. Yet, that's not the only problem with this movie. There's also some references to Independence Day, and they do feel exactly like them. But the biggest surprise to me was how much the critics at the time compared this film to Star Wars, mostly Episode 1. Okay, I can give it that it has more to offer than Phantom Menace, but why? Where's the similarity? Oh yeah, all the CGI, of course. But the story is nothing like Phantom Menace, nor any of the other Star Wars films, though some of the creatures and humans might be Star Wars related. And speaking of being related, some of the effects are done by the effects artists of Phantom Menace. And it's ironic that Bill Pullman, who voiced a rogue space pilot in this film, also played almost the same character but comedic in Mel Brooks' Spaceballs, which happens to be a parody of Star Wars. That's a lot to take in. And even though this movie isn't a musical, it does have a selection of rock songs either made for the film or were previously done. And while one or two are good, all the others are just okay. And the actors voicing the characters are mainly meh. Matt Damon voices Kale Tucker, Bill Pullman voices Captain Joseph Corso, John Leguizamo voices Goon, Nathan Lane voices Preed, Janine Garofalo voices Stiff, Drew Barrymore voices Akima, Ron Perlman voices Professor Sam Tucker, Alex D. Liz voices Young Kale, Tone Loc voices Tech, and Jim Brewer voices the cook. That's too common of a name to go out on. Oh well. As a whole, this movie is kind of good, but that's not saying much. The characters are okay for what they are, the story isn't very much, and while the animation is fine, it's all over the place and not one note. For being the quote-unquote last film of directors Don Bluth and Gary Goldman, it's not really a bad film to go out on. It's sort of jumbled with its mix of 2D and 3D animation, and have moments that felt forced based on the time it came out. But I am still glad that I saw it after not seeing it for years, despite it not being one of his strongest works. And if that Dragons Lair movie ever happens or is ever announced, then it's still good to know that Bluth has returned to animation. Until then, we still have this movie, which is fine, but not so much. So today, this movie will be given a rating of 3 stars. So thank you for joining me. Like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Facebook or Twitter. And tune in next week for a new video. Wait a minute, I almost forgot. I have another movie review I wanted to talk about. And it's one I saw a few days ago, and I figured that maybe I might want to talk about it. So, here it is. Well, even though this film is 3 months old and is already out on Blu-ray, I've managed to catch it playing in a small theater last month, and I'm here to talk about it. It's Disney's latest animated film, Zootopia. The story is that a rabbit named Judy Hopps wants to be a police officer for a city called Zootopia, where predator and prey get along. But she's given the duty of parking meter maid until a missing animal case comes up for an otter looking for her husband. So Judy, along with a carnaged fox and witness named Nick Wilde, go out to solve the case, and even stumble on a plot that's gonna make predators become vicious carnivores. While directors Brian Howard and Rich Mohr made a film that features a good original song, decent animation and characters, a couple of decent moments, an interesting take on prejudice, and a very funny scene with sloths at the DMV, its twist ending is confusing based on who the animal is, why the animal is doing it, and it literally feels like a last-minute addition. That, and its overall story is just a basic buddy cop mystery, except that one is a cop and the other is a witness. Yet, I am glad to see it based on how everyone's talking about it, even before it was released. But I expected a lot more from this concept than just a buddy cop movie, and in the end, it's just fine. So today I'm giving this movie a rating of 2.5+ stars. So that is it, and I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you next week. Bye. That's too common of a name to go out on. Oh well. But ever since the Kickstarter for my Dragons Lair But ever since the Kickstarter for the Dragons Lair This is why I don't do vlogs of my videos.